Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, industry partners, and members of the media. Welcome to the ZALORA Southeast Asia 2021 Trender Report webinar. Hope you're all doing well and healthy, whether you're tuning in here from Zoom, YouTube, or LinkedIn. I am Amy Yasmin, your host and moderator for today as we dive into invaluable industry insights into the state of retail during this recovery from the pandemic and beyond. Now, 2021 has been a steep learning curve for many of us, implicating not just the lifestyles that we've been leading, but also businesses and industries around the world. With fluctuating movement restrictions and new virus strains despite vaccination rollouts, we're still being forced to recalibrate and reconsider our approaches as we navigate through these unprecedented times. It's one of the reasons why ZALORA, as the leading online retailer in Southeast Asia, has teamed up with a number of industry experts such as Google, H&M, BeLive, and TAF to bring you a comprehensive analysis of the current retail climate within the region. Never has there ever been a more crucial time to gain access to reliable data on this rarely discussed yet highly documented demographic, especially when they are primed to become global economic powerhouses in years to come. That said, having edited this report along with the help of many expert contributors, I found this year's Trender Southeast Asia 2021 report to be a compelling eye-opener, not just from an insider's point of view, but also from the eyes of a consumer. Just for an example, during lockdown, I found myself spending hours consuming content from TikTok dances to live streaming of games. And I've also spent countless hours shopping online. I think at one point even parcels filled up my entire living room, and it started looking like a retailer's warehouse. But luckily for me, it seems that I'm not the only one here, because according to the E-Economy Southeast Asia report by Google, Temasek, and Bain, 40 million new internet users came online this year, bringing internet penetration in the region to 75%. And given the increase of digital services more than a year into the pandemic, this trend is likely to continue. So today, I'm pleased to be able to share valuable insights made possible by data by GFG, as well as other key collaborators. They're also present here today, like Jerome Hanlon, Head of Industry at Google, Aldous Mirzaye, Regional Manager at H&M Southeast Asia, Kenneth Tan, CEO of BeLive Technology, and Jillian Tay, General Manager at Design Orchard. Of course, none of this would have been made possible if it wasn't for the foresight of Gunjan Sunny, CEO of ZALORA Group. Having realized the need for a true North Star to serve as a guide in this ever-evolving consumer market, data by GFG, ZALORA's proprietary analytics solution, was born. And lucky for everyone tuning in today, we'll also be speaking to her later on and hear her thoughts on how data-driven analysis and execution have played a vital role in shaping a thriving retail environment. Now, before we begin our discussion, I'd like to share everyone here a video breakdown of our recent findings. Thanks for watching. Now, I bet everyone's wondering where we got all that information from. And with that, I'd like to welcome Ettore Strapazon, lead for Trender, a data by GFG product, to give us a little taster of how this service can benefit you and your business.
Thank you, Amy. Welcome, everyone. My name is Ettore. I'm commercial lead for Trender, part of Data by GFG. And well, as you can see, this year's Trender report offer many interesting insights and data points about the fashion e-commerce industry in Southeast Asia. But before going a bit more into the detail, I would like to spend a few words to introduce Trender as a platform. So Trender is part of Data by GFG, and it's ZALORA's in-house analytics platforms built upon ZALORA extensive data ecosystem, and it's offered as a service to our brand partners in the region. If we could go to the next slide. Yes. So the aim here is clearly to help and support our brand partners in decision making at all levels, really, by offering a full set of dashboards and analytical tools that gives really granular insights about their customers, the market trends, the demand, the product trends, and of course everything about their performance and their sales on ZALORA. Next. Yeah, as mentioned, Trender, as part of Data by GFG, is built on the extensive ZALORA's data ecosystem. Here you can see some numbers that describes the huge database where we draw data upon. You can see here clearly 60 million monthly visits, 4 million active customer, over 3 orders per second average order frequency. It's a very dense and comprehensive database, and it's not just about a database about generic internet users. It's a very specific type of users that are showing interest and intent towards fashion and lifestyle verticals online. And so we can use this huge database to draw the full set of analysis and dashboard that are available on Trend. Trender has been built in the past, and it's continuously updated actually by keeping in mind our brand's data needs, the real needs, right? So since the beginning 2 years ago, we always built the platform around customer, around the brand's request, and so you can really find different type of analysis inside. Many of these clearly focus on the performance and therefore trading functions within a brand industry. So you could see definitely daily sales, weekly sales information, campaigns performance, new information about sales coming from other marketplaces as well, for the e-distribution customers. There are also other type of information which are instead more focused around marketing needs. For instance, I could think about all the customer information, customer demographics and purchasing behavior, customer trends, but also the full visibility for around the customer journey funnel, from impression down to conversion rate, cart abandonment rate, and click-through rate. And then, of course, because our clients are mainly fashion brands, we have a strong focus on products, fashion trends, and product feature trends over time. So anything that goes from top trending products, and we'll see it in a couple of slides, but also understanding of what are the product features like colors or fabrics or price point or the exact size curve to be proposed to the market are all available in the Trender platform. The Trender module. So as I mentioned before, we organize the Trender information in separate modules. Every module treats a different data topics, and here you can see that many of the modules represented here are about topics I mentioned already before, but this gives really a 360 degrees view on all the possible information that could be extracted from the data, and that could serve fashion brands in their analysis on every day. Before moving to the Trender report numbers, I would like to, if we can go to the next slide, I would like to show the latest upgrade. So as mentioned before, we keep upgrading and improving the platforms every month, every quarter with the latest analysis and latest information. We have here some sneak peek that really gives an idea of how the platforms look like inside. Here, the first one is customer segments. Is new features, the new analysis we recently had within the customer insights information. Here, we really give information based on the in-house segmentation that we do of our customer to the brand. So customer can easily identify those segment of customers that are so-called premium customer that purchase, for instance, with low discount and high frequency, and understand everything about these customers, their demographics, where do they live, what kind of payment methods do they prefer, what kind of products they would rather buy. Moving to the next slides, I think another very good example is exactly the top trending products within our product and market insights. Here we give full visibility on a very visual, actually, dashboard. This is probably the most visual dashboard that we have of all the top trending products in recent weeks and months. We show here very granular level this information, so the brands can really dissect and drill down by country, by category, subcategory, product, gender, every kind of verticals they want to explore. And this really gives a good visual understanding of the demand. And then the final slides is instead about basket analysis dashboard. Here we try to answer the $1 million question about, what other brands are my customer purchasing on top of my brand? What other brands am I sharing my customer baskets with? And here we provide exactly this information, and it's basically across, of course, several dimensions, a full-fledged dashboard, but specifically what we show here is the Complementary Brands Map, which tells you exactly this, what other brands are your customer purchasing with you. And I think I will stop here and don't want to take too much time. I think everyone is pretty much interested with the findings that are in the report. And so without further ado, I'll pass the mic to Anupam, our lead data scientist for Trender.
Hi, everyone. Hello, this is Anupam, leading the data science project for Trender. It's a really interesting time to be in Southeast Asia and in e-commerce landscape. We're seeing really insightful things happening, great interesting patterns emerging. So I'll try to walk briefly through the data points that we showed in our presentation initially. In case I can move to the next slide. Yeah, so the number here actually speaks in bold letters, right? People are still buying. So we can see that number of brands on ZALORA has gone up by 19%. So the buying has not stopped. Patterns might have changed. What people are buying has changed. How people are purchasing, those things have changed. But yes, e-commerce is still a very hot zone. And you can see how digital savvy Southeast Asia has been. 90% of Southeast Asian refer to at least one digital channel. So that's quite interesting. Moving on to the next slide. So, and go to the next slide. Yes. Yeah. So So this data is collected from our sources. So you can see a lot of customers, right, are looking out for personalization. So you can see AI visual searches compared to quarter 19 and quarter 1 in 2019 and quarter 1 in 2021 has grown significantly. So that's we can see a change in pattern base, we can see an evolution happening in the way people are looking at personalization in their various parts, various aspects of shopping experience. And that's something like really we can look forward to. So yes, and now looking at the triggers, or what actually is what actually people what actually tends people to buy more. So still promotion and discounts are still one of the key players. It has been since the inception or since e-commerce has started growing. So promotion and discount still leads with 44% of the people actually buying because of promotion or discount happening. Price comparison compared to brick and mortar shops, that also constitute 38%. So that pattern has still been continuing. People looking at brick and mortar shop, finding a cheaper option online and then buying from there. Flexible payment option, that is something we have seen recently in the last 3 to 4 years. A lot of payment options have come in, buy now, pay later options. A lot of credit lines have come in, and that giving a lot of options to the users to make payments of their choice. It's also one of the major contributors to flexible for them to buy on e-commerce platform. And of course, if you see at the end, there is an 21% share for I had an entertaining shopping experience. So these are the new trends coming in, like you must have seen in ZALORA, the Z Life, which we have launched. So it's not just about buying, it's also about the experience, how you are buying, enjoying, the way you purchase. So these are also some of the key factors leading to purchase on e-commerce platforms and ZALORA. Moving on, so this is quite interesting. So we have seen growth in certain categories, and certain categories lead the growth a lot more compared to the other ones. So here we can see that women's apparel and shoes are seeing a slight decline during the high alert periods of COVID-19, which is obvious because the demand was low, people not going out often. However, sportswear and accessories rose in demand. People are looking for more healthier lifestyle, trying to people doing workouts, right? Workout at home, sportswear, running, those kind of products have seen a significant rise. So yeah, moving on, if we can, we'd like to deep dive into the baskets as well. I mean, what exactly people are buying in these different categories. So let's look at the beauty segment. So you can see here that lips in the beauty segment, I mean, of course, on an overall, there has been an increase, 29% increase. It's quite significant compared to 2020. However, there are certain interesting facts here. You can see lips lips subcategory inside beauty has gone down. So that may be because of mask being a mandate in most of the countries in Southeast Asia. However, the demand for face serum treatment, fragrances, face moisturizer has gone up. So these are some of the interesting patterns coming up in beauty category. Moving on to, so deep diving into beauty category further. So we can see here that demand for face serums and treatments has seen increase compared to 2020 in 2021. And things like hair clipper, hair dye, I mean, these things have seen tremendous searches happening over on the internet. So this data that we are seeing, it's collected from our platform, as well as we are seeing the search trends from Google. And it's very interesting to note, like hair clippers, 1,460% year-on-year growth in Malaysia, and in Philippines, similar growth. So that's also very interesting insights coming in from Southeast Asia e-commerce market. Moving on to the next slide. Okay, so this is very interesting, and so there was in the presentation, it was saying that okay, men are also interested in beauty, and there was a question mark, but it's quite obvious from the data on our platform So we have seen a very significant rise in demand for beauty category products in men. So on the right side, you can see in 2021, compared to 2020, it has gone up by 45%. And in 2020, it was up 250%, almost 250%. So that's quite a significant number. And for men, fragrances still remains the major subcategory inside the beauty products that they're looking forward to. Face serums and bath and body, second and third. So yeah, that's quite interesting to see this trend. And if we see, there is one highlight from Bangkok Post here. So roughly a third of men aged 25 to 34 have bought foundation or lipstick in the past 12 months. So yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting fact. Moving on to the next slide. So then talking about luxury category. So there was some finding in luxury category. So which is again like very interesting. So generally we won't see a very huge like rise in luxury category. However, in Southeast Asia, we see that on our platform, the number of luxury brands have increased, the number of people buying luxury products have increased, and that shows that Southeast Asian customers have grown quite confident in purchasing luxury items online. Previously, might have been skeptical, but this segment is also growing, and it's really interesting to see how this segment performs in the coming times. But yeah, I mean, in last 2 years, there has been a significant growth. Wallets and purses still being around 9% of the top luxury categories on ZALORA. Fragrances and t-shirts are also have a significant share. And if you see the age group, so above 80 and 26 to 30, so these are the two main age group of people being more interested in buying luxury products. So this is also quite interesting. Moving on to the next slide. Okay, so even for demand for kids wear, the children wear on ZALORA's platform has seen significant rise. It's quite in terms with how it has risen for men and women. So even for kids product, we see in 2020 it was around 520% growth compared to 2019, 2021. The growth still continues. It's 66% over 2020. So yeah, even baby products are in quite huge demand, and another area where e-commerce is really growing. Yeah, moving on to the next slide. Okay, so this is also one of the things which is now taking quite a lot of attention, not just on e-commerce, but on the entire buying space across the globe. So people are looking forward to sustainable products. And who are these people? So these are mostly millennials. So if you see on the right side, in 2021, 64% of the people who look for sustainable authentic products were millennials. So this is basically because of people being more concerned about the nature, about the impact on their activities, their dressing, things they do, how it's affecting the nature. So it's interesting, as well as it's really good. This segment growing, and especially millennials being attracted to this segment. You can see even Gen X and Gen Z are also quite interested in that. But yeah, I mean, it's really nice to see the segment growing. Moving on to the next slide. Okay, so this is also one of the very important aspect, I'd say. Southeast Asia being house to 1/5 of the Muslim population, and Indonesia and Malaysia, right? I mean, which are our one of two biggest markets. So we have seen a lot of searches happening for halal goods online across the region. So we have more details about this in our report as well. I mean, definitely I'll urge everyone to look at that. So people searches, right? So most of the searches includes categories like traditional tops. So it proves that people are trying to do mix and match traditional tops, like mix and match, and wearing those category of products. And even talking about halal goods searches, which has seen significant increase. So if we look at the numbers, in Malaysia, it has grown up by 15% compared to 2020. Singapore, 35%, Philippines, 38%. So yeah, this is also like really interesting how people are actually buying very personalized thing and how they are looking forward to e-commerce. I mean, for almost everything to know, like they'll find it over there. Moving to the next slide. Right, so this is also a very interesting fact. So this is actually from last 2 months. So you can see it's comparing September to October. So we saw a very interesting observation here. So if you see the yellow bars, that is October, and the purple is September. So we saw a significant rise in search for winter clothing of ZALORA in Singapore. So this was just this trend was just observed after the announcement of VTL lens. VTL flights, VTL lanes for travel. So this proves that people are ready to go out, right? People are ready to travel. And as soon as something was announced, people started shopping. That okay, now it's time to pack bags and move out. So yeah, I mean, this segment is going to definitely increase as countries start to relax their borders. People really want to like travel, and yeah, this is quite significant from that. Okay, moving to the next slide. All right, so yeah. Okay, so Z Live, I talked a bit about Z Live initially, where people are looking forward to entertainment, right? It's not just the product you buy, but it's also about the experience. So G Live was launched in June 2021, and we have seen a lot of interest from people. And Z Live, people are not just interested in buying clothes, but all sorts of things on live platforms, and it gives a really, I mean, on the go experience, right? I mean, you see a product, you buy a product, you see the review on the fly, and I mean, it's an altogether different experience, and it's really gaining a lot of attraction from our consumers. It's quite interesting to see. We just launched in June 2021, and we have had already 15 live shows. The numbers are quite promising over here. Yeah. That's from Z Live. Okay, so this is also one of the observation I think briefly discussed in second slide. So people are interested in variety of paying options. So in last 3-4 years, we have seen a lot of options coming in payments in terms of cards, wallets, and all. But one thing that is really finding a lot of interest among our consumers is buy now, pay later options. So you can see how buy now, pay later option is compared to the normal non-installment options. So, and mostly this data is for the luxury items, where this buy now, pay later option is it's quite significant. And this option has been where people have been very interested in this particular options, and we are also seeing a lot of companies emerging in buy now, pay later option, providing these services. And we as a e-commerce platform, we try to integrate all of these services on our platform and provide a very easy experience to consumers in whatever way they want to purchase. So yeah, it's cash me any way you want, like it goes. Okay, so all right, thank you so much. I'll hand over to Omni.
Thank you, Anupam and Tori, for both your insights. We've actually discovered a lot more interesting information. So thank you, Anupam, for not letting everything out of the bag. But we're gonna have to let everyone download the Trender report for that. So now, without further ado, please join me in welcoming Jerome Hamlin, Head of Industry E-commerce at Google, Kenneth Tan, CEO of Be Like Technology, Jillian Tay, General Manager at Design Orchard, as well as Aldous Mirzaei, Regional Manager at H&M South Asia, and of course, Gunjan Soni, CEO of ZALORA Group. And thank you all for joining us here today. Quick reminder to all our viewers at home, we will be opening up our floor to everyone at the end of this segment, so please do send us your questions through our chat box. Hello, everyone. Welcome online. Nice seeing everyone's faces.
Hi, Emmy.
Hello. Now, my
Hi.
first question of the day goes to you, Gunjan.
Okay.
The lady of the house. So, the Trender Report is a comprehensive overview of what has happened in fashion and lifestyle retail, thanks to ZALORA's data and Data by JFG platform. What are the key takeaways you've observed throughout this entire year, and what can other businesses learn from this?
Sure, Amy. First of all, let me just extend a very warm welcome to everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I hope you find some of the insights that are shared today beneficial, and do feel free to use the reports to benefit the broader objective of helping grow the industry, which is why we are all here. Well, Anupam already shared quite a few insights, but let me try and summarize a bit on maybe what were some of the big eye-catching moments for us as we watched the year flow by. I think first and foremost, the overall opportunity in Southeast Asia continues to be huge, especially in the medium term. I mean, we've seen it in the data with more consumers shopping online. We also see the fact that the online penetration in the region now stands at 66%, and it continues to grow at 8% year on year, which given the base of consumers in the region, is quite a tremendous increase in the available addressable market for all of us to look at. So I think that's the most interesting and exciting trend that continued all the way from 21 to 22. The other interesting shift that we saw was even as brands started to move online in 2021, we saw an even bigger wave of transition happening, towards the last 2 quarters of this year, and that excitement continues. So I think even if we do a little bit of future gazing, we're going to see that the online transformation and strengthening of how brands engage with consumers across retail will continue to get more and more exciting. What has that meant? That has meant two things. One, the way we are engaging with our consumers is changing, and the way consumers want to be engaged with is changing. The consumers have become more savvy. Anupam talked a little bit about that, but in response to the combination of the vacuum of not being able to experience the offline purchase, several brands have really adopted more content-led strategies. And I think that's a big transformation for the industry and a big innovation. Of course, we talk about Z Live there, which is live streaming, but equally the importance of content overall and the role of influencers, even peer influencers. At ZALORA, for example, we started a program to build a community of influencers, and we're inviting everyone, because literally in today's world, everyone can be an influencer in our ecosystem. So nobody is being left untouched with this entire social commerce revolution, I would say. So I think that's the third big trend that I wanted to highlight. Last but not the least, we spent a lot of time talking about which categories are growing, which categories are suffering. Anupam has spent a lot of time on that. But if we really boil it down, it's fairly logical how consumers have been behaving. And now we have almost 2 years of data to support that. When there are deepening of lockdowns, people are constrained, then what we call at-home categories start to flourish, right? So keep me home, keep me fit. That's what becomes the key priority. And with that, you see beauty, sports, leisure, all those categories doing extremely well. But then as soon as you see people being able to move out, but also equally the number of the case counts coming down, you see the rise in consumer confidence and adoption of step out of home categories. And towards the end, Anupam talked about how we saw the resurgence in some of the winter wear demand as soon as travel was opened up in Singapore. And we see similar demand coming back in a country like Malaysia, for example, for women apparel, especially from September onwards. So I think those are the 3 or 4 key highlights, which hopefully summarize the key trends for you for the year.
Great, thank you, Gunjan. I think that one of the biggest highlights for me whilst writing the report is how digital acceleration had really impacted businesses and communities in more ways than one. And most interestingly, of course, millions of consumers made their first purchase online in the last few months. So, Jerome, given your bird's eye view at Google, what does this mean for retailers and brands in the years to come?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think look, you really touched on I think a few interesting points earlier with the huge growth, and I think the first thing I would highlight would be just the size of that growth and what that means for retailers. We released our economy report a couple of weeks ago, and I think you quoted earlier about 40 million people coming online in 2020, 20 million just in H1 21. So what we're seeing is this huge momentum of user growth coming into the market, and this has really important implications for how we operate as marketers and brands. The size of the market is getting bigger. Our recent report showed around 80% of internet users now being digital consumers. That's about 350 million people across Southeast Asia. But it's not just user growth, it's also GMV growth, right? So GMV in e-commerce doubled in the past year, and it's projected to double again by 2025. To put that into context, India is supposed to be around 111 billion by 2025. And we will see e-commerce GMV in Southeast Asia be around 234 billion. So it's incredible to see that growth, not just in users, but also the depth of users that we see there. I think the pandemic is probably the biggest driver behind a lot of this. But I think we've also seen some huge gains in some of key internet enablers like internet access, logistics, payments. These are becoming really, really important to think about as brands as well. Habits would be sort of the one area that I'd want to tap on as a brand or a seller. We now understand that a lot of these new users are sticking around. They're purchasing more frequently, having higher rates of satisfaction. I think this is really important. So I think for businesses, what I'd really encourage you to think about is how do we leverage this acceleration by building new and lasting customer relationships. It may mean that you need to take a longer term view of ROI, and I know that's often challenging. From a cost perspective, it makes sense to drive immediate ROI, especially when you're thinking about marketing goals. But if you're able to sort of invest for the long term and building some of these relationships, you can really leverage that stickiness and these habits that are now being formed. The other point I would mention would be keeping up with the momentum of the market. So we interviewed about 3,000 merchants in Southeast Asia recently. About 80% of them said that they expect the majority of their sales to come from online over the next 5 years. So this is really important. How do we make sure that we're digitizing at the pace the market is? Cost and short-term profitability is always top of mind, but investing where we can will help to really stay ahead.
Thank you, Jerome, for your insight. I think just want to add on to your point as well. It's a sense of community spirit, which I've come to realize is most prevalent during these times. In fact, many consumers now are looking to spend more of their money a little closer to home. From a local fashion perspective, how has a trade organization like TAF come to the aid of homegrown talents, Julian? Because as we all know now, some of the hardest hit entrepreneurs are aspiring designers.
Well, in these difficult times, retailers really need to recognize the importance of revamping and fine-tuning their business model while continuing to grow their digital presence to increase their outreach to more shoppers. So as a TAF, as a trade association, we devise strategies to help to enhance the in-store shopping experience by hosting more events with our brands, with our partners, thereby engaging our customers to allow for a more personal touch point. At the same time, we also introduced live commerce, launching new collections to shoppers through Instagram, and even established a virtual shopping experience for those who wish to shop and browse at the safety and comfort of their own homes. So we have other opportunities that have been extended to our local designers and brands as well, which includes collaboration opportunities to allow them to reach out to new target markets and help to increase their brand awareness and more business opportunities for their brands. So just this August, we actually in the midst of the heightened alert, we ran a heritage festival theme in our store to shine a spotlight on ancient crafts and culture. So we partnered with local communities and partners such as the Batik Sayang community, the Peranakan Association, as well as the Ancient Civilizations Museum to present a lineup of engaging experiences and events in store. We also worked with the students of Raffles Design Institute to create our in-store windows as part of their school project and brought in brands featuring batik and Peranakan merchandise as part of the pop-up in-store. So right now, in fact, we are having something interesting at Design Orchard. We actually partnered with Warner Brothers to curate and launch an exclusive We Bebes capsule collection by 6 local designers. And just last Friday, we had our Christmas windows unveiling and building light up. So if for those in Singapore, please come and join us for this festive celebration at Design Orchard and check out the limited edition We Bebe merchandise. So in fact, we feel that partnerships and collaborations is the way to go, and there will be more of such collaborations lined up in the future where we give our local designers and brands the opportunity to create thematic capsule collections to help to increase their engagement opportunities and also business potential to help due to the amplified outreach that we have.
Great, that's great to hear, Jill, and things are, at least coming a little bit in Singapore. Now, speaking of diversifying, over the past year, we've seen tremendous growth on e-marketplaces. Especially now at a time when you can't even go out because of lockdown, and how are you going to get your groceries, your beauty essentials, or even the latest shoes or bags. So Aldous, H&M has really had the foresight in strengthening its approach on both offline and online channels. Not just on online, but on branded.com, but on e-marketplaces as well. Now, why was it important for H&M to diversify its presence, and particularly so here in Southeast Asia?
Thanks, Amy, and good afternoon, everyone. Let me also just say thank you so much for having us today and for this opportunity to connect. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, transformation. I mean, I think every brand, every customer-centric brand company needs to constantly, of course, re-innovate and stay relevant to the customer and the consumer base. And I would say the digital acceleration at our H&M brand, I mean, this has been ongoing for many years. I mean, our biggest competitive advantage is our reach, which we have acquired over many years with our extensive physical store portfolio, which of course we're very proud of, and we believe that it continues playing a very big role even in the digital era. But it was very important that we not just accelerate digitalization in terms of becoming multi-channel, but actually going from a single then multi-channel to an omni-channel approach. We really believe that the future is in omni, where we're allowing our customers for them to decide when they shop, how they shop, and where they shop. And the journey that we're all on, and where collaborations and partnerships with marketplaces such as with ZALORA is so important, is how do we further integrate these channels in order to become even more frictionless, to become and allow our customers to have more of a seamless shopping experience. And this is a super exciting journey we've been on, and definitely the pandemic has of course accelerated the need, because more rapidly than ever we have seen a very, very extremely changed shopping and customer behavior. Many of the peers on the line have already spoken to it. The data, the insights, the proof is there. But we really see that with the collaboration such as with ZALORA, it allows us to not just extend our existing footprint across Southeast Asia, but also to gain a whole new customer base where we can, of course, offer our products, our customer experience, our brand experience. And I believe that the work we will have to do together is to really across all of these three, right? Increasing the product experience, increasing the customer experience and the brand experiences. And we see such tremendous potential listening to Jerome, listening to Gunjan in Southeast Asia, but we also see still a lot of opportunities that haven't maybe been as much tapped into. And we obviously look forward to the continued collaboration. But specifically with ZALORA, we believe it's not just the reach, it's also from an ethical and sustainability ambition. This is where we feel we have found the right match, and we look forward to the continued and meaningful and sustainable growth together.
Great, thanks Aldous for your thoughts. And just to really stress on that point, it's really not the end of brick and mortar. It's, in my opinion, it's really a time for retail innovation. Now, of course, who better to ask about innovation than Kenneth Tan, whose live streaming offerings at BeLive has benefited not only ZALORA with its ZLive platform, but countless more. Now, Kenneth, I want to ask you, how has live streaming changed the landscape of retail since the onset of the pandemic?
Yeah, so accelerated by the pandemic, live commerce has actually introduced a whole new way to discover new products. Traditionally, digital retail platforms and pure play marketplaces have depended on search-led discovery, which means a user goes on e-commerce platform, for example, and types in a search term for a product. Of course, then you have product recommendations prior or after the search, but the user intent is captured via search. So live commerce actually flips this around and goes with a content and trust-led discovery model, which is super interesting. It actually enables users to discover products via content created by a community of people, sellers, or even presenters that they trust. So this has been happening in China for the past 10 years. And now we're seeing this in Southeast Asia as well. The most popular live streamers in these countries, they actually build their user base by religiously streaming, continuously engaging their audience. And most of them even know their loyal fans by name. So when they enter the stream, they actually say hey, Amy, welcome back to my live session. I saw you on this date and thank you so much for coming back. So this new form of trust, authenticity, and discovery leverages the main two superpowers of live streaming commerce: high engagement and higher conversion rates.
Thank you, Kenneth. And now with Metaverse well on its way, I think it's really worth noting that it's not a trend. Live streaming, virtual reality, all of that is really here to stay. But I like how you mentioned authenticity. I think just to rein it in a little bit here, amid all this, as Aldous had mentioned just now as well, sustainability is, I think, one of the key, not even a trend, it's a lifestyle, it's a movement. And now we have, Marian Dang, a special mention to her coming online with us. Actually, we have a podcast episode together, and we've spoken very extensively about how sustainability is such a huge movement, not just in lifestyle, but in fashion as well. So, from an H&M perspective, how has the perception towards sustainability evolved here in Southeast Asia? Because in our episode previously, there's this mentality that it was kind of dowdy, but like what you're wearing now, it's H&M conscious collection. It's really not the case. Do you think that pandemic had somehow encouraged a more mindful lifestyle, given how we've all had a forced introspection?
Thanks, Amy, for the question, and good to be connected here again. You are right. I'm wearing a conscious collection dress from H&M, which is made out of tencel and other more sustainably sourced materials. So there are a few things here which is important. Number one, the pandemic, as you mentioned. We have seen indeed that with the pandemic, there is an increase in awareness and interest in sustainability globally, but also in Southeast Asia. So consumers do not only attach value to the actual product or the actual service, but they also want to identify themselves with a brand and also expect brands to act more responsibly towards the environment and the society, right? But we have also seen that there is still a bit of a gap between the attitude and the behavior. So there's still a little bit of a gap between what consumers say that is important to them and how they are actually behaving towards consumption. So this is then where companies and brands need to come in and where they need to lead and close the gap. So especially if we know that 20% of the emissions in the fashion supply chain or fashion value chain is coming from the customer use, this is so important for brands to bring the customers with us in our journey towards a sustainable fashion. So there are a few ways that we can do it here in Southeast Asia. Number one, of course, continue to raise awareness, continue to educate our customers on what they are consuming, for instance, what kind of materials they are wearing, where the materials are coming from, how to consume, but also how to consume more consciously. And more importantly, for brands, for instance, with H&M, what we try to do is we try to make it easy for our customers to opt in for more sustainable choices. So we try to make sustainability as accessible as possible by, for instance, having an increased assortment with more sustainably sourced materials in our stores and online. Again, with the materials in the fabrics, which we now have more than 65% of our materials in our garments are sourced in a more sustainable way. But it also means that educating customers what to do after the lifespan of the garments. So that's why we have our garment collecting take back program, where we encourage everyone to reuse and recycle garments instead of throwing it away. We have the paper bag charge here in Southeast Asia, where we encourage everyone to bring their reusable bag. We recently launched the paper packaging for our online orders in Southeast Asia. So now your online orders come into outer paper packaging instead of poly bags. And also with ZALORA, we also have a part on Earth Edit, which is also making the more sustainably sourced materials online available for the ZALORA customers. So all of this, by giving customers the options, we want to inspire them to drive behavioral change to not only look and feel good, but do good at the same time as well.
Great. Actually, in our episode as well, we spoke a lot about, not just the materials, but, how you can even go into zero waste. And it's great to even have this conversation again. Sustainability is something that's really close to my heart, and I'm sure everyone here can also vouch the same way as well. Now, going back to Gunjan, what is your outlook for the e-commerce market in Southeast Asia moving forward in this post-pandemic era?
I think, the outlook, like I said, on the medium term is super encouraging. Jerome shared some very big numbers, and that's what we also concur with. In the near term, I think the world continues to be somewhat more unpredictable. And we've seen, how a new set of wave seems to be emerging in parts of Europe. I think we're still the battle with the pandemic and COVID is not fully over. So what I see happen in the near term is perhaps to some degree a continuation of the trends coming out of 2021. But at the same time, we've now tasted what the light at the end of the tunnel looks like. And I think as vaccination rates continue to increase, the adoption for the booster vaccine increases and availability increases in our markets, we will see a far bigger traction happening, especially for the fashion retail industry, where, I think the impact of COVID has been somewhat more brutal, in all fairness. And despite the online adoption, we see consumers being more cautious with their spends, especially in the peak of the lockdowns. So that's the near-term trend. What really excites me is the shape of what I think for sure will continue both in the near and long term. And one of which is how we shop. And we talked a lot about content, Kenneth mentioned it. And then we also, just talked about the omni-channel behavior. I think some of these are here to stay. The consumer is now far more adept at navigating online. They were always adept at navigating offline. And therefore, as the world comes back to become omni-channel in our lives, I think that's what they're going to demand from us as retailers and brands more and more. So that part of the evolution is something that's here to stay. And I'm really looking forward to especially how AR and VR shapes it. We are ourselves doing a lot of experiments on that topic, whether it's virtual trial rooms, which are becoming a lot more easier, to more immersive ways of experiencing the content as well. So I think that's a very exciting area for e-commerce in particular. And I think some very interesting innovations will happen on the omni-channel part of it as well, where from just facilitating returns has been the big use case. I think now the content journey can start on either side, and the fulfillment will probably happen also on either side. So it's a lot of interesting opportunities there for all of us as an industry, I feel. And then the one that we just talked about, and then you and Marian talked about so passionately, on sustainability. I think that's a trend that's very much here to stay. More than ever before, consumers are aware, they're conscious. I think the dilemma that Marian explained is something that we see in our data as well. So the number of users who believe that they are ready to make purchases on sustainability criteria is 3x of the number of consumers who actually do. I think part of the challenge is affordability, which obviously in Southeast Asia is something that's become more hit because of the pandemic. We know markets like Indonesia and Philippines in particular are among the markets where large chunks of the population are being plunged back into poverty, and we can't ignore that. So I think, again, the good news is that the intent is very loud and clear. And I think as all of us as industry partners, all the wonderful initiatives that H&M is doing, what we are trying to do, but many others, I think as we increase more the supply, and as we make it more and more affordable and available in general, the consumers will find it easier to adopt. But I think these are the 3 trends that I feel super excited about. In the near term, we all need to still brace up and continue to ride the ups and downs of the pandemic. But the future overall is going to be full of innovation. I've often said we'll definitely continue to be more female-led and continue to be more sustainable. So it's super exciting.
Great, thank you so much, Gunjan. Just something else I want to add on here as well. Going through all the data, we've noticed correlated nuances between consumer demand and movement restrictions. Now, how has this played out from each of your perspectives? Jerome, would you care to chime in on this?
Yeah, sure. I think we're going through quite an interesting time now where we're starting to see relaxation. We've got VTLs, interstate travel kind of coming back. So I think we're really getting into an interesting phase in Southeast Asia. And I think seeing a really gradual recovery of apparel and fashion with that, which I think is good to see. I think it's been touched on multiple times today, these physical restrictions, as they get removed, it starts to change consumer behaviors. And I think searches for some staples, dresses and handbags, right, for example, are among some of the top rising products that we've seen in other markets like the US and Germany. Right? So I think these are really interesting sort of proxy data points to take into account when we look at what's going to happen in Southeast Asia as we're going through this easing of restriction. I think there's definitely data to indicate that a recovery in fashion is likely as these movement restrictions ease. So I think it's going to be really interesting to observe. The other point I'd add, just on Gunjan's point around innovation, I totally agree. I think we're very lucky to be in a very rich e-commerce, but also very mobile-first ecosystem. So I think as we start bouncing back into offline, we're going to start seeing very different experiences. Digital engagement is going to continue to grow. We see it growing for voice, video search, etc. So as we think about mobile and the role that has in omnichannel, I think I'm quite excited to see more possibilities on smartphones in the near future. So I think, yeah, it'll certainly be interesting to see how the next few years pan out.
Thank you, Jerome. Now my final question, and everyone please also feel free to pipe in before we open up to the floor, of course. This theme, the theme of this report is around resilience, and we've seen a lot of brands and retailers successfully pivot their businesses and expand their online footprint. What are the strategies for fashion and retail brands to seize Southeast Asia's e-commerce momentum? Aldous, maybe we'll start with you.
Thank you. I think just so inspiring also listening to the peers here, and I couldn't agree more in terms of both, of course, the challenges we have faced, but also a little bit the late pandemic or late COVID era we're in now. And I think it really goes back to leveraging on the Omni channel. As you said also before, I mean, we believe that the value of physical experiences, even because of the restraint of the last 20 months, in a way will grow in importance, but we still believe that the digital acceleration will not be decreased because of that. So it is all about brands, companies to finding ways to integrating these, and also being very clear about what purpose the different channels can fulfill, and then to have also fulfillments going both ways, as a few colleagues online have already outlined. We also believe when it comes to, again, the integration of product, brand, and experiences, this has to become a lot more aligned. The discussion we have around sustainability, it cannot become about just price or sustainability. We have to find ways, and like H&M's business idea is built on fashion and quality at the best price in a sustainable way. We have to find ways where sustainability isn't a activation anymore. It becomes integrated in our business models and into everything from product to experience to the customer's responsibility. So innovation, creativity, and also being passionate about collaboration. I also believe the era of being excessively competitive is being replaced by being passionately collaborative and finding synergies, finding common goals, both for businesses, of course, for profitability and financial resilience, but also towards the responsibility we hold towards communities and planets. And I think listening to Julin earlier, the importance of local relevance, offering opportunities to local entrepreneurs. This brings me back to our 10-year anniversary that we just celebrated in September in Singapore, where we partnered with 10 local creatives, from designers to print on demand. And again, it's also here understanding what do you utilize and what channel, what do you offer the customer. But we strongly believe the growth we have seen in digital shopping is here to stay. It will continue, and this will not change with the physical coming back. But the players that manage to integrate these channels and make it seamless will be the ones probably to come out stronger than before.
Fantastic. Thank you, Aldous, for your insight. And also to all of our panelists for sharing all your data and your opinions and your thoughts. Now, I'm going to open the questions to the floor. So I'm sure we've got a lot coming through. And we do have one actually coming in from Aman Firdaus. In your opinion, why Malaysians are more comfortable to use buy now, pay later compared to other countries, especially during this current time? Maybe perhaps Gunjan, you might want to answer that?
No, sure, I'm happy to pick that up, and I'm sure Jerome can add to it as well from his experiences. Overall, we're definitely seeing all countries move towards a variety of payment methods. I mean, just to give you a proxy, in the last 18 months alone on ZALORA platform, we've added close to 17 new payment methods. So I think there's definitely a lot of new offerings for consumers, whether it's wallets, whether it's buy now, pay later solutions. In terms of behavior, what we are seeing is, although luxury was the primary use case for buy now, pay later, we actually see the adoption to be more broader. I think that's number one observation. Second, different countries are in somewhat different stages of adoption. And I think it's linked most importantly to comfort with credit in general. And you see that a market like Singapore has already been very well penetrated by credit cards, which already had installment options. So I think that makes it easy for people to use buy now, pay later, but also for a large part of the population, they already have some of these facilities available. On the other hand, you have a market like Philippines, which is very, very underpenetrated on any credit options. And I think that's a huge consumer barrier, and you therefore see them lagging the adoption curve on all forms of credit-led options. Malaysia, interestingly, has seen a huge wave of supply. So I think, as much as consumer behavior and demand helps, so does the supply of some of the options. And suddenly we see a lot of excitement happening there. But I wouldn't overread into just that part. I think in general, across all the countries, if I compare to 2 years ago, the adoption rate for newer payment methods is increasing by leaps and bounds. I would love for any of the other players to also add basis their feedback and comments.
Yeah, I can jump in. I think agree. And financial services are becoming more and more important, and consumer expectations are getting higher and higher. I think out of one of the data points we pulled was out of 3,000 SMBs we interviewed, around 90% accepted digital payments now, and payments are just becoming payments and then financial services are just becoming such an important driver of growth for many SMBs and for the e-commerce industry at large. And I think to remain competitive in this environment, I think it's really important to make sure that you are thinking about investing in digital financial services, and consumers expect it. It's more than just facilitating transaction on a website. There's I think a fascinating set of innovation that's going to come out in the space over the next few years. So it's certainly something that I would have really high top of mind and be watching really closely over the next couple of years.
Great, thank you, Jerome. I do have another question coming in from Kimberly from CNBC. Now, this is directed to you, Kenneth, and of course, Gunjan. I think this is going to be quite an interesting question. What made ZALORA turn to live commerce? Are there any details you can share on the business exploring AR and VR?
Sure, I'm happy to go first. I think we've already talked about this a lot. We definitely spotted and saw the trend towards a higher content adoption. And right at the start of the pandemic, we could sense that there will be a vacuum for experiences, because traditionally the big use case for consumers turning online has been access to either assortment that they didn't have access to locally, or price proposition or convenience. And we realized that now people are also looking to online for engagement and quasi-entertainment. And they want it all, and which is not very different for how consumers used to go to malls, equally for window shopping and also for shopping in general. So we are seeing the same patterns emerge online. And spotting these trends made it very clear to us that it was time for us to offer more experience-led and content-led solutions to our consumers. And we are very happy to partner with Kenneth and his team in BeLive for that. It's been a very stable and exciting launch. One of the big worries that you always have whenever you're doing live streaming or any such major product launch is with the number of users that we have. And even in the first show, close to 16% of our users turned up to watch the show live. It's a huge pressure to make sure that the experience is seamless, and it's been wonderful to see that happen. Then on the second part of the question around, what is happening on the AR and VR space, unfortunately, I can't share too much around our own plans because they're still in the pipeline of innovation. But definitely, I can share the key areas in which we are experimenting. So we are definitely experimenting more and more on virtual trial rooms, different kind of options. We as you know, we are strong believers in data, so we keep doing A/B testing to see what type of format is working, what tweaks we need to do, and you can rest assured that in 2022, that's certainly one type of innovation that will come out of the ZALORA platform and stables. We equally are experimenting with more immersive, especially augmented reality-based solutions, which are again in the realm of trial, but make it more interesting because you can now literally be trying in any environment you are in. And we are also trying to combine, more Instagram-like looks and features together with other parts of the value chain, or trying to build more immersive experiences by looking at collaboration across the value chain. But those are more early experiments, and we would love to share more at the right time.
So adding on to Wenjuan, thanks so much for the opportunity to partner ZALORA. It's been a fantastic experience. And just to add on, as also to Jerome's point about Southeast Asia's phenomenal growth for the digital economy, we, based on our observations as well, actually leapfrogged China to become the fastest growing digital economy in Asia Pacific. So e-commerce GMV grew almost 80% year on year. We're expecting to double in the next 5 years. Similarly for live commerce GMV as well. In Southeast Asia, it has actually scaled to almost 16% of China's live e-commerce GMV in 2021. So that's phenomenal, right? 16%. We're expecting it to grow by 2023 to 32%. So the gap between the two growth rates means that live commerce is like a blue ocean for many businesses. But this also means that competition for traffic between platforms now is extremely fierce, right? So businesses can benefit because we think right now the playing field is very even. Superstar live streamers or content creators have not been born yet outside of China, right? So there are some really prominent live streamers being, getting traction in Indonesia and Thailand, for example. So a heavyweight brand might be able to, or business might be able to hire some of the most prominent KOLs, which would then translate into high viewership for a very brief period. But unless the retailer or the KOL is committed to live streaming very frequently to build loyalty, viewers will flip to the next platform or the next stream, right? So this is an opportunity for small, medium, or even individual businesses, right? If you start early, which is now, you have an opportunity to capture very promising, as I mentioned, blue ocean, which comes with, as I mentioned earlier as well, very high conversion and engagement rates, which are the superpowers of live streaming. So that's how businesses can benefit, large or small.
Fantastic. Thanks, Gunjan and Kenneth. We have time for one last question, and this one is about sustainability. So, Marianne, this is your time. Now, in terms of sustainability, what more can be done? Is there still a significant demand for sustainable clothing and beauty products for customers?
What more can be done? I think it starts with something you mentioned already earlier, that sustainability is not a trend, right? So it starts with acknowledging, all of us, all companies, whether small or big, that sustainability needs to be integrated into the whole business strategy, and that companies need to have a sustainability agenda to remain competitive moving forward. So what needs to be done is also then understanding, number one is indeed the demand of the customer. So there we mentioned a lot about data. So data is used here to see what is the actual demand from the customer, so that we have a demand-driven supply chain rather than supply-driven. Number two is the innovations and the technology, which is also mentioned a few times actually in this webinar, that the importance of innovation so that we can actually meet customers with even more experimental new materials, but also with new groundbreaking technologies when it comes to recycling. And also when it comes to meeting the customers in different ways, it's then also thinking about other circular business models, let's say rewear or re-commerce or rental or subscription based. And so there it is indeed about using data to understand the customers and know what do they need, but at the same time use innovations, technology, and find creative ways and circular business models to connect with the customers in all different channels in order to really drive meaningful growth and moving towards sustainable fashion.
Great, thank you so much, Marianne. And a thank you to all of our viewers who sent their questions inside. I hope all of our panelists managed to answer them. We have been getting some requests about Trender as well. So for those of you who have been, looking for ways to get in touch with Trender, please get in contact with the communications team, and they'll be more than happy to assist you on that. Now, unfortunately, I'm afraid time has come up. I think we've gone a little bit over time, but in case you've missed out on some key points, do find us on LinkedIn and YouTube, where this recorded session will be posted up. Once again, I'd like to thank everyone who took the time to join us on this webinar today, especially our panelists, Gunjan Soni, Jerome Hamlin, Aldous Mirzai, Marian Dang, Kenneth Tan, and Jillian Tay for sharing with us all your valuable insights. I hope our webinar today has shed some light on the current state of retail, especially now as we move into the ensuing years of recovery. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank all of our collaborators for Trender 2021, MasterCard, Crescent Rating, Atomi, Bearbrick AI, Flawless Choice, Lush, Habib Group, Bisense, Lily Liu, Phoenix Square, and Journalism, without whom this report will be unachievable. So until next year, on behalf of ZALORA Group, thank you all for joining us here today. Stay safe and hope to see everyone again next time. Thank you so much and goodbye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.